We'll be giving a series of presentations. The first presentation, which I'll be delivering, will provide an overview of the fall armyworm and why it is of concern here in Australia. The presentations that follow will outline how to identify fall armyworm. This will be delivered by Melinda Moyer. David Cousins will discuss trapping and surveillance, and then I'll give a final presentation providing some initial guidelines for management. So without further ado, we'll begin. The fall armyworm is the common name used for the insect called Spafford frugiperta. This insect is native to tropical and subtropical America, and even in its native range, it has been considered a pest in maize, cotton, and other crops that are grown in those regions. In 2016, it was accidentally introduced into Africa, where it spread rapidly across the continent. It then moved to India, China, and Southeast Asia. So within a 3-year period, it moved over vast distances across the world. It is spread by people, but studies have shown that it's also very capable of traveling long distance on its own in a fairly short period of time. The fall armyworm was first detected in the Torres Strait Islands in January. Shortly afterward, it was detected on the tip of Cape York, and then larvae and moths were found in northwest Queensland by late February. It was found across a larger area in Queensland during March, and recently in late March, it was confirmed in Darwin, Katherine, and Douglas Daly in the Northern Territory. On the 1st of April, fall armyworm was confirmed in Western Australia from a moth that was collected in Kununurra in March. In February, the Consultative Committee on Emergency Plant Pests, a national body, met and determined that fall armyworm is not technically feasible to eradicate. Nonetheless, it is still likely to be a serious pest, and state and federal governments continue to monitor the spread of this insect throughout Australia. Part of the reason this insect is considered a serious pest is because the number of host plants that it eats. It is recorded feeding on over 350 different plant species. However, it does have preferences, and it is expected to be a particular problem in some of our major cultivated crops, including maize, sweet corn, rice, sugarcane, wheat, and sorghum. It is also expected to be a problem in pasture grasses and hay crops. Some legumes, cotton, and vegetable crops can also have damage from fall armyworm. The other reason this insect is considered an important pest is because it is voracious, and in large numbers overseas has defoliated crops in a fairly short period of time. However, individually or even in small numbers, fall armyworm may not have a significant impact. Australia's conditions are favorable for this insect. As shown on the map below, the areas in orange and red are considered suitable or highly suitable for fall armyworm. But the yellow areas on the map are also important because these are marginal habitats and may support fall armyworm populations as well. These orange, red, and yellow areas are also areas where we grow a large number of crops that are favored food for fall armyworm. The fall armyworm is now here in Australia. We have determined that it is not eradicable, and so we are going to have to learn to live with this insect. Therefore, it's going to become really important for all of us to identify fall armyworm, learn how to trap and monitor it, and then develop management options. Are there any questions? I have a question. Is containment being considered? At this point, no. What are the control methods is another question that has been submitted. We will be talking about that in another presentation, but there are a number of different management options that have been trialed overseas and used in effectiveness. We won't be able to go into all of that detail here today because of the seriousness of this pest overseas. There are a number of different management strategies that have been tried. Another question that's come in is what causes large numbers? I'm not entirely sure about the answer to that. probably has a lot to do with availability of hosts, lack of natural enemies, and also just temperature and climatic conditions that are favorable for the development of the pest. It is considered a warm northern climate pest, but it is possible around Perth and possibly Albany, because there are periods of time where temperatures are also favorable for this pest. And given that it can migrate quite significant distances, it can migrate from the north to the southern areas probably on an annual basis. In the United States, for example, it migrates from the southeastern areas in, say, Florida and Louisiana and such, all the way up to Canada on an annual basis. Right, I think what we'll need to do at this point, I have had some other questions come in. We will attempt to answer those a little bit later, but we need to move on with Melinda's presentation. We'll move over to that now. Thank you.